From the Gnostics to New Age groups to the psychedelic Renaissance, frequently spirituality, or the process of seeking to uncover the spiritual dimension of being, can become its own counterculture. In itself, that's not a bad thing. It's crucial at any given moment to see what the issues are in the predominant ideology of reality and culture, and to offer something different. When consciously done, that different thing can be the next step of evolution, or it can be an important way to address imbalances in various different power systems or religious structures that obscure the truth. However, when spirituality becomes counterculture, there's always a risk that it will become a direct opposite of what it's operating against. Now, if we take the example of modern spirituality, what could it be that modern spirituality, or modern interpretations of spirituality, are operating against? What are they the solution to? Now, if they do just mirror what the problem is, then you're going to find that spirituality as counterculture is going to be quite opposed to materialism. It's going to be opposed to logic, reason, the intellect. It's going to be opposed to science. And it's going to be opposed to capitalism. It's going to be opposed to religious dogma, and so on and so on. Now, the profound imbalances in all of the dimensions that I've just mentioned, they do have to be addressed. But spirituality as counterculture, as something that is just mirroring those issues, will generally overlook them and fail to fully integrate those qualities. So it could be just a complete denial of capitalism in a way that is just not pragmatic, right? It's not addressing the issues in culture and offering a solution. It might be a form of spirituality that completely overlooks logic and reason, and this is something that we see quite frequently. Counterculture could be seen as addressing imbalance, and that's a good thing, it's a positive thing. If it fails to properly examine the benefits of what it's rebelling against, then it won't integrate the things that are really important. So, for example, any spirituality that has or will have an impact on culture has to embrace science. There's no way around that, because the power and the influence of science and the scientific method cannot be overlooked. It has to be able to adapt and complement science. And I believe that it does. And I believe that, a spirituality that embodies the nature of quantum physics, for example, not necessarily as a solution. And this is something that people frequently use as a way to dismiss. I think there's a term called quantum mysticism, which is like a way to say that quantum physics misleads people into this like mystical approach. I don't see it like that. I see it as the predominant nature of reality is one of consciousness and interconnection, and essentially aligned to non-dual teachings such as Hinduism and Vedanta, and that there is essentially a God within that system. And quantum physics is evidence of a dimension at play that influences the physical in ways that we don't yet understand, but ways that complement and correlate to these ancient philosophies, to insight from this subjective experience. So it's not to say like, oh, we just scientifically, that's it, we're done. Quantum physics proves it. It's more a case that this is a way to collaborate, right? The same applies to the intellectual. The same applies to reason, to logic. There are so many examples of the benefits of reason and logic, and a lot of the traits that come from the Age of Enlightenment an age that Nietzsche referred to as the age that killed God, essentially, right? There are many traits there that are really important to integrate, particularly when entering the dimension of the invisible, of the spiritual. Having connection to the rational and the logical essentially prevents you from being blown away by that dimension, or at least not to some degree, right? So a fusion of what is good and what is, beneficial on both sides of that culture, counterculture, is essential, whilst being able to dismiss or choose not to energize what doesn't work and to take the best of what does. So these are just a few thoughts I had recently that I'm sharing with you, and I'd be keen to hear what you think. I've noticed within myself, I think that a lot of people, I'm going to assume a lot of people that get involved in spirituality have a bit of a rebellious streak. Now, it could be rebelling against an upbringing of dogmatic, institutionalized religion. It could be that rejecting atheism. It could even be that spirituality, at least the understanding of spirituality as freedom, means that you don't have to comply with restrictions and rules. And obviously that is, from my perspective at least, one way of neglecting things that are useful, such as boundaries and such as common understanding in society and the need for discipline and stuff like that. But exploring inwardly, where has my spirituality become its own counterculture, is a really powerful process and something I invite you into. Where has my spirituality become, rather than a desire to uncover the truth, a way to rebel? Rather than a desire to uncover the truth, a way to push against the things I don't like in reality. There is also in that process of balancing, it could be you go from one extreme to another, but generally understanding what is really true and what feels true to me and what feels like a genuine spiritual practice, compared to where am I just rebelling? Where am I within myself offering a counterculture to things I don't like? And then just addressing, well, what things can be integrated? What is it in this culture that I really do not agree with or I really struggle with? Is it that I struggle with it because I find it difficult? Or is it that I genuinely think there's no place? And if there's no place, how do I at first find peace with that within myself? So yeah, let me know what you think. As a YouTuber, I think I'm supposed to also recommend that you subscribe. That'd be nice if you could do that. And please leave your comments about this idea of spirituality as counterculture, where you see this in yourself, where you see this amongst your peers, where you see it in society, and what can we do to avoid that, to arrive at a greater truth that doesn't neglect things that are important or useful, but tries to encompass as much as possible.